The attention economy has distorted our relationship to suffering, convincing us that discomfort is failure instead of part of being alive.
I don't know why. It just feels like it's just one of those days where I just can't stop crying. I don't know why. It's not a bad day.
Why is everyone in their 30s struggling so bad? Why are the millennials having such a hard time in life? I decided to do a test and spend a whole day without scrolling just to see what it would do to my mind. When I tell you it is those damn phones, when I tell you, I would say 80% of my issues, maybe 85, come from my damn phone.
Hey guys, I'm Key, and on my channel, Keyism, I merge my love of psychology, spirituality, and cultural analysis to bring you life changing and soul stirring content. And today, I want to talk about how the attention economy and how our relationship with suffering has really changed with this new layer of social media, digital culture, and being inevitably online. I'm going to be reading from my notes as I talk, but this issue is affecting almost anybody who is online. Anybody who is consistently on social media, spending multiple hours a day engaging on social media, is likely dealing with this distorted view or distorted relationship with the idea of suffering or struggling. And it all starts with the illusion of the soft life. If you grew up on social media like I did, one thing became very clear very early on. Do not post yourself struggling. Being a full human online has always had its consequences. No matter what corner of the internet you're on, if you post yourself struggling, if you post yourself as less than ideal or less than polished, you are at risk of experiencing backlash, judgment, comparison, and projection from your audience and even yourself. Once you put yourself out there, you're subject to the judgment and criticism of anyone who has Wi Fi or an internet access. We've all learned that it's best to put your poker face on when you are projecting yourself on social media. We've all been conditioned to present parts of ourselves that will lead to the least judgment, the most praise, and the most admiration from our followers, our audience, our friends, or whoever we are broadcasting ourselves to online. This has put us in a cycle of performing. We're always performing. Whenever you are posting online, you are performing for an audience, whether that audience is a inner circle or you have a public profile and you post to whoever has access to your page. We're always performing. And with that, it has put us in a sense of survival where we cannot truly be ourselves online. We have to survive this space of being online. Just as when we are out in the real world versus being at home, you don't necessarily need to be in survival mode if you have all your needs, your basic necessities, and you're in your home. You're most likely at peace and at ease, and you turn off that survival mode. But then you go out into the real world, whether it's work or school or socializing, then you turn on a different layer of your natural instinct to protect yourself. And now you're in survival mode. But now we have this digital space where you can be at survival mode at all times, pretty much 24/7, especially if your job is social media or you're creative or you're an entrepreneur trying to build yourself and build a presence online. Social media puts us in survival mode, and this is not good and it's not healthy, especially for those people who are actually trying to share their creativity online or share their business and be expressive. No one wants to be in survival mode, especially with this whole soft life movement. A lot of people are shifting away from this idea of survival mode, but ironically, that same space that this soft life movement is being pushed on is also the same place that is creating this environment that's pushing people into a space of survival. I know this sounds like a big issue that may not affect you, but what happens is when you're living in survival mode, it's easy to fall into a trap that the harder you resist your reality, the closer a softer life will be. This resistance only creates more suffering in our lives. And you start to resent your present moment and detach from your reality. Culture teaches us that if life still feels hard, we must be doing something wrong. But the catch is, life is supposed to be hard. Life is a journey full of challenges and obstacles that help us grow into the person that will become one day. I'm not saying that you deserve to suffer. I'm not saying that anyone deserves to suffer, but challenges and obstacles are a normal part of life. And always being your best self is impossible. Life is full of twists and turns. We all face periods in our lives where things are very, very difficult. Then you add on the societal expectations and institutions in place like paying rent, bills, transportation, and then you have those unavoidable tragic parts of life like the loss of loved ones, dealing with a breakup, whatever that may be. These are all experiences that cause suffering. There is no escaping the reality and hardships of life, no matter how much money or how soft your life is. But social media has done something very strange where a person can be seemingly not struggling, living their best life, and avoiding all the dodgeballs of life that is somehow hitting everybody else but them. There is a saying in Buddhism: a wave is made of water. It's easy to collapse into one mode of thinking when we see our influencers or peers projecting the best parts of themselves online. And it makes us think, am I not doing something right? Why is my life not this good? When will things get easier for me? What's happening is social media distorts how we experience everyday challenges by making us think that who we see online are not going through the same things as us. They're thriving and happy and just somehow untouched and unfazed by the very real obstacles that happen in everyday life. When you see an influencer you follow and you're only viewing their highlight reels of their life, you create this image in your head that they aren't dealing with the same sort of suffering that you are. In a way, you can start to idolize them for how easy their life seems to be. And you aspire for your life to be just as easy and smooth sailing and full of happiness, joy, and ease as theirs. Content, especially short form content, works so well because it steals the most valuable currency we have: our attention. But you have to think, what keeps people's attention long enough? Most of the time, it's entertainment, absurdity, and unusual content that holds the most attention. These are the things that we see like going viral, mostly ridiculousness, sometimes people living unusually satisfying lives or doing unusually satisfying things. And these are the things that keep us engaged and steal our attention. By design, short form content trains people to believe that their attention span is naturally broken and that constant high speed external stimulation is a baseline requirement for happiness. It traps you in a cycle of social comparison, leading you to feel that your real, unedited life is boring or inadequate compared to a curated feed. So if you're constantly seeing someone living a lifestyle that you couldn't fathom in your reality, you're more likely to feed your attention into their content. It allows us to experience something that we felt was untouchable or unattainable to us. And this is what keeps us engaged into certain people's content. For the first time in history, we have more access to other people's lifestyle than we ever had before. And you really have to wonder, what is that doing to our relationship with ourselves and our reality? In my early 20s, I started to fall in love with life. Not because everything was perfect, but because I started to realize that everything was a part of this journey of life. There were moments where I didn't know how I was going to pay my rent. There were moments where I felt lonely or isolated from my peers and the people around me. At times, I would get so caught up in my own suffering that it became who I was. Every morning started to feel like another day of struggle and resentment for where I was in my life at the time. After some time, I read a book called The Power of Now, and I will put my link below. This book made me realize how much time I was wasting being consumed by my own suffering. Then I started to practice meditation, and it helped me be more mindful even through my suffering. And I realized that suffering is something that is going to be experienced in life. And the best way to deal with it is to embrace it for what it is and feel it fully. The way out of your suffering depends on how you look into it. The images that we see on social media encourage us that any sort of suffering is not good. And it reinforces this idea that everything has to be smooth sailing all the time. Suffering helps us peel back the layers of ego that blocks us from the fullness of our everyday lives. In a world that glorifies certain ways of living as being the best way to live, it's really easy to feel like your life is mundane or little, especially if you don't have access to certain resources that you see some of these influencers or creators have. The truth is, every day that you're living can have meaning and be full of happiness. You don't have to feed into the trendiest aesthetics to live softly. It's simply not realistic to never have a bad day, to never struggle, to never have a stressful period in life, or to run into challenges. Without the challenges of everyday life, there is no opportunity to learn and grow. I don't want to romanticize suffering, but within suffering, there is this process of unfolding that you go through that gives you a profound sense of self awareness. Self awareness cleanses the lens of your worldview by empowering you with skills and knowledge that will help you navigate the world. When you feel more empowered to navigate the world, you're less likely to cave into accepting another's reality. I find the most interesting people to be the people who have genuinely overcome something in their life. Everyone wants to live a soft life, but very few actually possess the skills to live softly. The soft life as we know it today is framed as a way to avoid struggle, and it's just completely unrealistic for everyone to live. Many women and even men who desire the soft life see it as an escape from their current reality. This is the same audience who truthfully don't have the resources or accessibility to live this soft life. If you are affected by this privilege gap, this doesn't mean that the soft life is unattainable to you. Instead of trying to reach the soft life, cultivate the soft life through everyday rituals that embody the principles that speak to you. Start with self awareness on how certain tropes about survival mode and grind culture show up in your life. Ask yourself, in what ways are you surviving more than living? How can you replace these survival tactics with more grace and a present mind? And embrace your reality for what it is. And if you're unhappy with your reality, examine your discomfort and find resources to tackle that problem. Lastly, on a day to day basis, do what feels softer to you. Don't judge softness based on someone else's version. Look at where you are in life and ask, where can I soften my approach? A true soft life is true to your reality. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was empowering. If it was empowering or you found it insightful, please make sure you leave a comment and make sure you subscribe to my channel.